Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get.
All right. Well, we are here with Braxton Fears. How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing awesome. A little backstory here. If you don't know who Braxton Fears is, Braxton, you are one of my favorite humans. And what I think is interesting about you is you have had, I think, maybe 4 or 5 different careers. And how old are you now?
I'm 35.
35. So just a little backstory. You've worked in accounting. Then you went into landscaping, right?
Yeah, landscaping business. Yeah.
And then you went into missions.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went into commercial real estate. And now you're kind of in that real estate / ministry hybrid, right?
That's right.
So you've switched career paths numerous times. And but the one thing that I think is exciting about what Braxton's been able to do, what you've been able to do, is that you have achieved sort of a state of financial freedom where you have saved diligently, you've worked hard, and you've kind of built your life to a point where you have a house you enjoy and a family you enjoy, and you're kind of free.
Yeah.
And I think that's exciting. And so today we're going to talk about is the path to financial freedom and 11 steps that we can all take to get to a great place financially. And maybe he'll give us tips on how to make great hair choices too. He has the most incredible hair I've ever seen. So, Braxton, there's really 2 paths we can all take here. The first is the poor and the middle class. We tend to work for money, but we exchange our time for money. So, like I used to work at Target, and you say you're making $7 an hour, and if you're here 40 hours, you make $280, and you work there. And you at one point started off in accounting, right?
That's right. Right out of college, I worked for an accounting firm, and I realized after about 2 days that that was a bad deal because I just hated it. It was like the term you put in your time. It's a term that people use in the career. It's also a term people use when they go to prison, and that's what it felt like. And there's a time where maybe early on in your career where you do put in your time, but as a general rule, that's a terrible way to look at your career. You're exchanging a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money, and it feels very empty. You have an automatic cap on your success, and so figuring out ways to get out of that exchanging time for money is key to taking the cap off so that you can keep growing and keep moving forward.
I remember you told me a story back in the day. I remember you kind of were there and you looked at your boss and you were like, if I'm here for a given period of time, I could become this.
Right.
And I guess in the tax industry, you might have to walk us through it a little bit, but I guess in that industry, there's a busy time of the year where you might be working 80 hours, a week, or it gets kind of crazy.
Right.
And then you kind of looked in the future and you said, if I stick in this career for 5 years or 10 years, this is where I'm going to become. And you didn't want that?
Right. Well, I mean, the top of the thing in that industry is to become a partner, and I just didn't look appealing to me after worked 20 years to become a partner. It didn't look appealing to me. Now, some people that's what makes the world go round. Some people like that kind of thing, but ultimately, no matter how hard I worked, it still was going to cap out somewhere that wasn't determined by me. It was just I could give as much time and as much effort into that industry as I could, and I would still cap out somewhere. So that did not sound appealing, and it really is. It's a different kind of prison.
And I always call it the cage, but the idea is that you're in this cage. It's kind of comfortable,
right?
And you get to take 2 weeks of vacation a year.
That's right.
You get enough food and water. You're an animal in a cage. People feed you, and then you get to get out of the cage and go on your dog run and have some fun in the backyard. But you're really in this cage. Now, why is it so difficult for people like myself or people like you when you're in that job? Why is it so difficult for us to think beyond the idea of exchanging time for a set amount of money? Why is it so hard to, if I have a salary job right now, Why is it so hard for me to think about, well, I'm going to leave this set salary and go do something else? What was scary about it for you or for most people in your mind?
Well, I mean, in our culture, it's kind of programmed in to you from fairly early, unless you're from a different way of thinking. Most people kind of are programmed through teachers and professors or whatever that, we're preparing you to get a job, just to go get a job. And, it's kind of hard to get out of that because you think, well, that's the safety. I'm going to rely on somebody else to give me a job, and so the safety aspect. I mean, it is there, but it's a little bit of a fake safety because it really is. It's very unfulfilling just to have that cap that you put on yourself.
So you have basically path one, which is where you're exchanging time for money, and it's kind of a false security. You're kind of in this cage because you believe that if you stick in this career for 20 years, eventually maybe you can become a partner or an owner. And a lot of people, maybe you're watching this, maybe you just got laid off, or maybe you know of someone who just got laid off, but you have that false security because you're not really in charge.
That's right.
Now the second path seems a little more scary, but you're kind of betting on yourself. And this is the path of the rich or the wealthy, and this is where you basically are moving into this place where you're self-employed, and you're really never letting your money rest. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in a business. You're putting money into yourself. So, what does it mean in your mind to have your money working for you or to invest in yourself?
Well, I mean, early on in a career, you probably don't have money, but as you start to budget and intentionally save, you want that money not just sitting in the bank, but you want to put it somewhere where it's going to grow for you, and that's when it really gets fun. You're not just burying it and saving it for whenever you retire. It's not necessarily a retirement plan, but it's a plan that gets you moving in a bunch of different areas. So never letting your money rest might mean that you have a bunch of things happening at once, and that's when it gets really fun.
Now let's break it into the real talk here. You're working at the accounting firm, and I don't remember how much. I don't know how much money you had in the bank at the time, but let's just say you got. Did you have a few $1,000s saved up when you decided to leave the big accounting firm to go into the landscaping career?
Yeah, I did, and I went into a landscaping career because it was something that gave me an ability to run a business for someone.
Yeah.
And I was jumping at a chance, and it was a sacrifice. I had to take a pay cut to get myself into that. So it was.
Do you mind sharing what your pay cut was, just so people at home could relate?
Right out of college in the year 2000, I made $37,000 a year at Ernst & Young accounting firm, and I thought I was on top of the world. After 2 days, I no longer felt like I was on top of the world. But then it was a process. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, I quit. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It was a year. I worked for a year. And it wasn't fun, but I put in my time. I kept my commitment. And I was looking for an opportunity not just to switch jobs so that I was exchanging time for money again, but where I could run a business. I wasn't in a position to start my own business at the time. At least I didn't think I was. So I found an opportunity. The guy paid me $22,000 a year plus bonuses for more business that I got.
I want to make sure we're getting this. You went from $37,000 a year in the cage. We'll call it the wage cage. Okay, the wage cage. You might want to put that on the video. Wage cage. $37,000 over here, and then you went down to 22.
And it was $37,000 if I worked 40 hours a week or 80 hours a week.
Or 40 or 80.
It didn't matter. I was made $37,000 a year either way.
But then you jumped down. You said, okay, I like this promotion. I have an opportunity. So I'm getting promoted. I have a chance to go from making 37 to 22. I'll do that. A year. It took you a year.
Yep. And the value to me was that I was going to be putting my time into something that was going to be an education for me.
I want to underscore this because it's super important. If you have a job right now, you're thinking about making the jump from the wage cage to being self-employed. You're going to have to think about your next job. You're going to work to learn, not to earn so much. You're literally going to have to say, I'm going to take less money for an opportunity to learn more. I have a similar story. I won't get into the super details, but I had an opportunity to intern for somebody who was very successful, multimillionaire, helping them grow their company, and I did it for free because I wanted to see how she did things. And I didn't get paid anything. And I think up to this date, I've probably put in 150 hours helping that person, never have been paid. In fact, I contributed money into things, but it was just the opportunity to shadow amongst somebody who's really done it.
Yep.
So you're working for the landscaping company now a year later, and did you get paid? You got 22,000 plus commissions,
Yes.
and so you had to go out and hustle.
Yes.
Had you ever sold before?
Never had sold before.
Did you do well at it, or was it hard?
I did pretty well at it. I could have done better knowing what I know now, but I did. It was, I was not, no one was managing me or looking over my shoulder, so it was all on my own. But if I would have had somebody helping me out, it would have been so much better. But it was totally worth it. I would have done the same thing over. Yeah.
What book, if you could say, going back and talking to your, how old were you when you moved into landscaping?
22.
If you could talk to your 22-year-old self and say, Self, this is the book you should have read right before you transitioned. What was the book, the sales book, that you should have read to be more successful?
I think my two favorite books. One was a sales book, is Soft Sell in a Hard World.
Yeah.
And
By Vass.
By Vass. That's
VASS.
correct. And then another book that's not really a sales book, but you got me into this book, was the Solomon book.
Yes.
I just recently actually read it. I wish that I would have, my 22-year-old self would have read that book. What's that book?
We're going to put it on screen. Neither one of us can remember the title because what I do is I don't memorize things very well at all.
Yep.
It's a book about Solomon, and it's basically giving you the proven principles from Proverbs. And if you're not into the Bible, it's totally fine. Then you can find the same principles in Think and Grow Rich, which is a secular book, but it's unbelievable principles that'll help you. So you're out of the wage cage, you're moving here into this self-employed, or in this case, you're working for someone else, but it's largely commission-based. At that point, did you have any extra capital, or were you just working as hard as you could just to tread water? Did you have any capital left over?
I was gaining capital. I didn't have a whole lot. I was very, very young. My wife was still in school, but I was starting to. We had a plan.
Yeah.
Even at that early age, we just intuitively figured out we need to have a plan, which is a big deal. And so we did that. That decision to do that kind of that leap or that step, prepared me to make and to take other steps like that in the future, which is huge. And it was a big, big deal to me. It was a big deal to leave a secure, seemingly impressive job out of college, and everybody sort of that I knew, everybody in my life sort of sneered at it and thought that's stupid. And that's going to happen sometimes when you make tough choices that are right, but you have to almost not care what anyone else thinks.
I remember when I came home from, my wife came home from work, and I was like, I was laying on the futon, kind of in that crazy Dr. Brown from Back to the Future sort of wild eye look.
Right.
She's like, how was your day? And I'm like, I quit my job and dropped out of college today. And I just had both things had to happen at the same time. I had to make that jump. I'd thought about it for a while, but I know it's scary, but I know you can do it. There's either the wage cage or there's kind of this self-employed world. And you can do it, but you're going to eventually have to make that jump. Now, we're going to skip forward years down the road. Full disclosure, you are a venture capital partner in Thrive. And you, amongst a lot of other great people, have invested in Thrive. What other things have you invested in over the years? I know you've done some real estate. What other things have you invested in?
Well, I've done the stock game, mutual funds. I've done that.
Okay.
I've invested in properties where I've bought distressed properties and fixed them up and sold them.
So properties, mutual funds.
Yeah. Really, besides a couple, I invest in people like Thrive. I invest in people that I trust. I invest in my own business. I'm not into stocks anymore because that's not something that I'm in. If it seems counterproductive unless you are your core business is stocks. My dad is very into stocks, but that's because that's the business that he's been in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit me because I don't know anything about that stuff. If I had time to do that, I would. But real estate has been a business that I've been involved in, so it seems like it's always seemed like a productive business for me to be in because I know that game.
And I think it's interesting, but one of the things with Braxton that we could all envy or look at and go, man, I wish I could figure that out. I know doctors that I've worked with who, no matter how much money they make, they spend it all. They make $400,000 a year, they spend $407,000. They make $500,000, they make $507,000, or they spend $507,000. NBA players, you all heard about the professional athlete who makes a ton of money, the NBA basketball player, and they spend more than they make. In fact, in America, there's all sorts of stats that show over half the population spends more money than they make every year. And what you have done is you've been very diligent about living below your means, so you're able to create a gap between what you've saved and what you need, and you've kind of created that financial freedom. So we're going to kind of move on into our next principle, our step 2, if you will. Every successful person I've ever met is very educated, yet only about half of these people have college degrees. And what am I talking about? So I'm going to go to you with this question here. There's a phrase I've heard a lot in the world of entrepreneurship about you learn more, you earn more. If you want to earn more, you need to learn more. So I'm going to review some of the most effective ways that I've heard entrepreneurs tell me that they've learned. I just want to have you maybe give me little examples and maybe talk about how you might have learned and maybe some things that you think are effective for the entrepreneur who has maybe just left their job and now they're working for the landscaper, or maybe they're thinking about it. One is we have technical colleges. Then we have self-help books, autobiographies, biographies, meeting with mentors, online training like this or lynda.com or digital tutors, a lot of great platforms out there. Going back to college, seminars, audiobooks, talking to ultra poor people, and your excuse-making cousin Vinny. So as far as on this list of 9 things here, have you gone back to technical college to learn skills you need to start your business?
Haven't done that.
Haven't done that. Nope. What about self-help books?
I like self-help books. I think especially getting a recommendation from somebody that you trust. Not everybody's a big reader, but it's important to be a reader and reading books that are going to get you somewhere. One of the things that I do and that I really like to do is I like to watch documentaries, and there are a ton of them, like on Netflix and things like that. When you're choosing a movie, rather than always choosing just the top new release, there's nothing wrong with that from time to time. But to watch a documentary about somebody who's been successful, even people from 200, 300 years ago, that's great. But there's so many things out there about companies and how they've grown, and they're interesting, they're entertaining, and they're fun to watch. And you can take notes and learn a lot from that. I'm
going to go off-road for just a second here, but if you can focus your attention on this sign over here, it looks like it's Austin Powers, but it's not. It's from Virgin. It's from Richard Branson here. And if you look at it here, he says, this is from his book. He says, I drew up lists and lists of people to call and slowly worked my way down them. Most of them rejected the idea of paying for advertising in an unpublished magazine. But gradually I began to see ways to attract their attention. I would call up National Westminster Bank and tell them that Lloyd's Bank had just taken out a full-page advertisement. Would they want to advertise alongside Lloyd's Bank? And that's Richard Branson's story. And I know for me, hearing about how he started Virgin Records, in that case he was starting a newspaper called The Student. He dropped out of high school, he's like 16 years old, and he started a newspaper, but he couldn't write and he didn't have any writers working for him. And so he decided, I'm going to sell ads first. And I know, reading his story, I thought, well, if he's dyslexic and he could be a high school dropout and he could start a newspaper, his first interview was Mick Jagger, by the way. If he could do that, well, certainly I could do a business. So you watch autobiographies, or you watch these documentaries, and then you kind of pull from their life a few principles. Is there any one particular you watched, just as an example, where you thought, man, that was a really neat documentary, or I've learned something from that one?
Well, I mean, man, there's so many. I love documentaries about history, even some of the dudes like Thomas Jefferson and Lincoln and things like that.
George Washington, wasn't that one a good one?
George Washington's a great one. There's a number of them out there, but there are even 30-minute documentaries on like Chipotle, how those guys got started. Apple, all the different companies that we respect today. You can see even just on a digital movie Netflix, you can see how they got started. It's easy. You can get them anywhere nowadays. And another thing is podcasts. I used to listen to talk radio and realize that's kind of a waste of my time, and there's nothing wrong with listening to music and that kind of thing. But it's such a great use of your time in the car if you're traveling, just to turn on a podcast about from somebody that you trust, that what they're saying is credible. That's a great way to continue learning how to take it to the next level.
One of the things I've noticed, though, is as I'm studying these successful people, every single one of them watches documentaries. They all read self-help books, but they basically all are studying successful people,
Right.
and they're only focusing on what they can control. And I've noticed almost none of them watch the news because they can't control the weather or the murder that happened in your city.
Right.
None of them spend a whole lot of time listening to talk radio about things they can't control.
Yep.
It seems like they're all focused on actively engaged in learning what they need to know to grow.
Yep.
Some other ones here is meeting mentors.
Yep.
I know in my life that's been huge. Where you and I had a chance to spend a whole day with the guy who started Hobby Lobby.
Yep.
Mr. Green.
Yep.
Awesome.
Super valuable.
Is there any mentors that you've maybe reached out to, or maybe even meeting with Mr. Green? Is there anything maybe you've met and you go, man, that helped kind of change the way I'm thinking about my life?
Well, I mean, that meeting with Mr. Green, I mean, that's somebody, a name that everybody can recognize. Hobby Lobby, I mean, that's a big deal. But for me, I watch just people in my town, people that I see that I come across, and I look for opportunities to meet them and just ask them questions. And there's people all over the country, all over the world that are successful, that aren't big names, and you can just figure out ways just to go up and talk to them, just spend 5 minutes with them and ask them meaningful questions. And successful people, they like to talk about things they control, because a lot of conversation and small talk is, again, things that people can't control. And successful people, typically they'll do it, but they don't like to do that. If you're talking about business with them or about how they've been successful, they'll jump on an opportunity to do that.
And I have found when you reach out to a mentor, you want to have your questions prepared.
Yep.
I know that I specifically cold called. I'll just give you an example. Let me grab this here. I cold called Chet Cadjo. He used to run a Quick Trip. Or he actually is the head of Quick Trip gas stations right now. It's like if you'd have a Quick Trip in your city, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's by far one of the nicest convenience store experiences you're ever going to have.
Yep.
And there's everybody else. Well, I met him and I'm going, Chet, Mr. Cadjo, what time do you wake up every day? And he's like, well, and then he tells me, like 5:30, I think it was. And I said, well, what books should I read that'll change the way I do business? And he's like, well, there's the Service Profit Chain here. This is a case study by Harvard. And then this is the Value Profit Chain. And he lays out these books. And these books have these unbelievable charts, and you can see all the notes I took from this thing. And this book changed my life. Well, then I found out, your dad went to Harvard, and I found out that your dad actually had this professor, Mr. Heskett. And I was going, what? So, I think it's important, because I was in an apartment at the time and was financially struggling when I first reached out to mentors. And they would say, well, read the Service Profit Chain. Well, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of this book. I don't know anybody else who's probably heard of this book. The cover looks like they spent about $7 on the cover design, but it just changed my life. And I think it's phenomenal. So meeting mentors is big. Online training. Do you do any online training? Do you watch any online type of school maybe for you to learn things?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I do that. I mean, if you're here and you're watching Thrive, then you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to get to the next level. So these kind of things are not going to be completely foreign to you, that you obviously care about taking it to the next level. So there's so many opportunities out there to learn now, more than ever. Has there ever been an opportunity?
Well, here's what I want to ask you. I read an article yesterday that one of our staffers sent me. But Google, the proportion of college graduates they're hiring, it's never been lower, the number of college graduates. So like for every 100 people they hire, they're hiring less and less college graduates, and they're hiring more and more people that have a discernible skill. I've even heard people who went back to college and just got an MBA because they got laid off 5 years ago. And now they're here in 2014, they have an MBA, they just went back to college, and they still cannot find a job. You have chosen not to go back to college.
That's correct.
And again, you've switched careers. You went from accounting to landscaping to ministry to commercial real estate. Why did you not go back to college to get into ministry, or back to college to go into commercial real estate?
Well, everyone's a little different. I like variety. I like to do multiple things, and I like to figure out ways to make money doing things that I like to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a place for college. I mean, if you want to be a doctor and that's what you want to do the rest of your life, I mean, you got to go to college. You want to be a lawyer or a nurse. For me, none of the things that I want to do and I've seen in my future are things that require a degree. It's usually owning a business of my own that I don't see as necessarily a trade.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's trading time. How valuable is my time, and how quickly can I learn that skill without spending a lot of money and spending a lot of time? I can't necessarily control how long that it's going to take for somebody to give me a lecture and what I can get out of that. But I know that if I can read a book, I can read a book quickly and learn maybe a semester's worth of information in a day.
But you did go back and get almost a certification for commercial real estate. You have to get a license, right?
Sure. I got a license for commercial real estate. It didn't teach me anything that, ultimately 3 days on the job, I learned more in that time about how to actually do a commercial real estate transaction than I did in the time it took me to study and take for the exam. But you have to have some of those certifications. I mean, I have a college degree. I went to college and there's a time and a place for it. But looking back in those 3 years, what I could have learned, I've learned more in the last 3 years than I did in the 3 years it took me to graduate from a university. So there's such greater ways to learn faster than just a university.
And I want to hammer this home. If you're watching this right now and you are in an apartment, I had an apartment, my wife and I had an apartment. We didn't have air conditioning in Tulsa. It's like 100 degrees. If you're feeling alone, my apartment smelled like cat pee, and so we didn't have enough money to really do AC, so it was like hot, and then we had a cat that would pee. It was just crazy. It smelled like cat pee. It was hot. Maybe you're in the hood, maybe you're in the ghetto, maybe you're in a rough environment, maybe you're in a nice neighborhood. I don't know where you are watching this right now, but no matter where you are, you can have access to these tools. You can do it.
Yep.
I mean, you can do it.
I lived in India for a year, and the people there have the tools in order to learn the things that they need to learn. So if they can do it, we can do it.
What about seminars? There's a lot of people I know who love to go to seminars. They say, I'm going to a seminar here, I'm going to a seminar there, I'll be going to a seminar next week, I'm going to a seminar. Do you go to seminars?
I've been to seminars. I mean, it's how quickly am I going to get that information?
Yeah.
Is it going to waste 3 or 4 days? Am I only going to get just a couple nuggets that I could get out of one chapter of a book? I think it just depends on the seminar.
Okay, I will say this. For me personally, I love seminars if it's a specific focus, if I can get something out of it.
There you go.
But I don't like the seminar where I go and they're going to try to sell me the next thing to get me to go to the next seminar I don't like seminars where it's about general ideas.
There you go.
Like, become more ambitious, become more motivated. I have a real hard time with that seminar. Mine more is like, learn everything you need to know how to sell more commercial real estate. Okay, I'm going to that seminar. But so anyway, just making sure you're getting the best use of your time.
Right.
Audiobooks. And then I wrote down that this is one here, and I think it's important we talk about this. Talking to your ultra poor and excuse making cousin Vinny. I don't even know if you have a cousin Vinny, and I'm sorry if you do have a cousin Vinny. But I know that poor people love to give tips on how to become successful. People as a general, I have an opinion on everything. So as an example, I am not really in shape or out of shape, I'm just a shape. So if you were to come to me and say, what are some fitness tips? Don't listen to what I'm saying, because you need to find someone who's buff and ask there, or someone who's in great shape, and say, how did you get in great shape?
Yeah.
Or you go to someone who's financially successful and say, how did you become financially successful?
Yeah.
But what do you do when you have a family member, or you have a person who's an acquaintance from college, or someone who starts giving you tips? Like, Braxton, you should invest in gold, or you should buy this, or you need to go back to college. Or how do you deal with those tips that come from the opinions that are unwanted from other people?
I think you just use common sense wisdom. When a lot of times we can learn. Everybody's had experience learning, whether it be business or life, what not to do from somebody else. A lot of times you leave a situation, you're like, that's not what I'm going to do, because look at the fruit or the outcome of what happens in that particular person's life. And it's not worth our time spending a whole lot of time just dogging those people, but it's also worth our time to go, I'm going to learn something from that person that doesn't know what they're doing just as much as I'm going to learn from people that do know what they're doing.
Probably the best example ever is there was a person I met at a conference who's been divorced 3 times. And I'm not a perfect husband. And in fact, my wife is an angel, which is how I've been able to stay married. But she's awesome. I know your wife's great too.
Yep.
But this person has been divorced 3 times and was giving me unbelievably specific bad advice.
Yeah.
They were like, what you want to do is you just got to tell your wife how you just got to tell her that she has a role. And I'm just like, Really? How long have you been married? Well, I've been divorced 3 times. Let me tell you some things. And he's just going on and on about all these terrible tips and telling me to tell my wife this and tell her that. And I think it's important because if you're watching this right now, you have a crazy cousin Vinny. You have maybe a dad, a mom, a cousin. Somebody's giving you bad advice right now. And if you are not careful, you will take that bad advice. Bad advice number 1 I hear all the time. You should never take a pay cut. You should never go from $37,000 a year salary to $22,000 a year. You should never leave the security of the big firm to go work for this small landscaping business.
Bad advice. Yeah.
You should never do that. You should never, ever, ever start your own business unless you have something to fall back on.
Bad advice.
Bad advice. You should say, the rich get richer. You just, it's how it is. It's just you need to just take a salary. I mean, you hear these things. So I think it's important that we're very aware of that.
JT, do you know what time it is?
4:10.
It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem, baby. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma, June 27th and 28th. We've been doing business conferences here since 2005. I've been hosting business conferences since 2005. What year were you born?
1995.
Dude, I've been hosting business conferences since you were 10 years old, but I've never had the 2-time Heisman Award winning Tim Tebow come present. And a lot of people, have followed Tim Tebow's football career on the field and off the field. And off the field, the guy's been just as successful as he has been on the field. Now, the big question is, JT, how does he do it?
Well, they're going to have to come and find out because I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Tim Tebow's going to teach us how he organizes his day, how he organizes his life, how he's proactive with his faith, his family, his finances. He's going to walk us through his mindset that he brings into the gym, into business. It is going to be a blasty blast in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Also, this is the first Thrive Time Show event that we've had where we're going to have a man who has built a $100 million net worth.
Wow.
Who'll be presenting. Now, we've had a couple presenters that have had $1 billion net worth in some like real estate sort of things.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we've had a guy who's built a service business and he's built over $100 million net worth in the service business. It's the yacht driving, multi-state living guru of franchising. Peter Taunton will be in the house. This is the founder of Snap Fitness, the guy behind 9 Round Boxing. He's going to be here in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma, June 27th and 28th. JT, why should everybody want to hear what Peter Taunton has to say?
Oh, because he's incredible. He's just a fountain of knowledge. He is awesome. He has inspired me listening to him talk. And not only that, he also has, he practices what he teaches. So he's a real teacher. He's not a fake teacher like business school teachers. So you got to come learn from him.
Also, let me tell you this, folks. I don't want to get this wrong because if I get it wrong, someone's going to say, you screwed that up, buddy. So Michael Levine, this is Michael Levine. He's going to be coming. You say, who's Michael Levine? I don't get this wrong. This is the PR consultant of choice for Michael Jackson, for Prince, for Nike, for Charlton Heston, for Nancy Kerrigan, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times best-selling authors he's represented, including pretty much everybody you know who's been a super celebrity. This is Michael Levine, a good friend of mine. He's going to come and talk to you about personal branding and the mindset needed to be super successful. The lineup will continue to grow. We have hit Christian recording artist Colton Dixon in the house. Now, people say, Colton Dixon's in the house? Yes, Colton Dixon's in the house. So if you like top 40 Christian music, Colton Dixon's going to be in the house performing. The lineup will continue to grow each and every day. We're going to add more and more speakers to this all-star lineup. But I encourage everybody out there today, get those tickets today. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. And some people might be saying, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How does it work? You just go to thrivetimeshow.com. Let's go there now. We're feeling the flow. We're going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com. You click on the business conferences button and you click on the request tickets button right there. The way I do our conferences is we tell people it's $250 to get a ticket.
Yep.
Or whatever price that you can afford. And the reason why I do that is I grew up without money. JT, you're in the process of building a super successful company. Did you start out with $1 million in the bank account?
No, I did not. Nope, did not get any loans, nothing like that. Did not get an inheritance from parents or anything like that. I had to work for it, and I'm super grateful. I came to a business conference. That's actually how I met you, met Peter Taunton. I met all these people.
So if you're out there today and you want to come to our workshop, again, you just got to go to thrivetimeshow.com. You might say, well, when's it going to be? June 27th and 28th. You might say, well, who's speaking? We already covered that. You might say, where's it going to be? It's going to be in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma. And someone says, Tulsa, Jerusalem. It's I'm really trying to rebrand Tulsa as Tulsa Jerusalem, sort of like the Jerusalem of America. But if you type in Thrive Time Show and Jinx, you can get a sneak peek or a look at our office facility. This is what it looks like. This is where you're headed. It's going to be a blasty blast. You can look inside, see the facility. We're going to have hundreds of entrepreneurs here. It is going to be packed. Now, for this particular event, folks, the seating is always limited because my facility isn't a limitless convention center. You're coming to my actual home office, and so it's going to be packed. So when? June 27th and 28th. Who? You're going to come. Who? You? I'm talking to you. You can just get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. And again, you can name your price. We tell people it's $250 or whatever price you can afford. And we do have some select VIP tickets, which gives you an access to meet some of the speakers and those sorts of things. And those tickets are $500. It's a 2-day interactive business workshop, over 20 hours of business training. We're going to give you a copy of my newest book, The Millionaire's Guide to Becoming Sustainably Rich. You're going to leave with a workbook. You're going to leave with everything you need to know to start and grow a super successful company. It's practical, it's actionable, and it's Tebow time right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Get those tickets today at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com.
Hello, I'm Michael Levine, and I'm talking to you right now from the center of Hollywood, California, where I have represented over the last 35 years 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers. I've represented a lot of major stars, and I've worked with a lot of major companies. And I think I've learned a few things about what makes them work and what makes them not work. Now, why would a man living in Hollywood, California, in the beautiful sunny weather of LA, come to Tulsa? Because last year I did it, and it was damn exciting. Clay Clark has put together an exceptional presentation, really life-changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. I'm Michael Levine. I'll see you in Tulsa.
James, did I tell you my good friend John Lee Dumas is also joining us at the in-person 2-day interactive Thrive Time Show Business Workshop? That Tim Tebow and that Michael Levine will be at. Have I told you this?
You have not told me that.
Oh, he's coming all the way from Puerto Rico. This is John Lee Dumas, the host of the chart-topping EOFire.com podcast. He's absolutely a living legend. This guy started a podcast after wrapping up his service in the United States military, and he started recording this podcast daily in his home, to the point where he started interviewing big-time folks like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Tony Robbins, and he just kept interviewing bigger and bigger names, putting out shows day after day. And now he is the legendary host of the EO Fire podcast, and he's traveling all the way from Puerto Rico to Tulsa, Oklahoma to attend the in-person June 27th and 28th Thrive Time Show 2-day interactive business workshop. If you're out there today, folks, you've ever wanted to grow a podcast, a broadcast, you want to improve your marketing, if you've ever wanted to improve your marketing, your branding, if you've ever wanted to increase your sales, you want to come to the 2-day interactive June 27th and 28th Thrive Time Show Business Workshop featuring Tim Tebow, Michael Levine, John Lee Dumas, and countless big-time super successful entrepreneurs. It's going to be life-changing. Get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. James, what website is that?
thrivetimeshow.com.
James, one more time before enthusiasm.
thrivetimeshow.com.
Shine, everything rides on tonight. Even if I got 3 strikes, I'ma go for it. This moment, we own it. I'm not to be played with because it could get dangerous. See these people I ride with. This moment, we own it.
Thrive Time Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshops because we teach you what you need to know to grow. You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you. And now you may be thinking, what does it actually cost to attend an in-person 2-day interactive Thrive Time Show business workshop? Well, good news. The tickets are $250 or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, they're $250 or whatever price you can afford. I grew up without money, and I know what it's like to live without money. So if you're out there today and you want to attend our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com to request those tickets. And if you can't afford $250, we have scholarship pricing available to make it affordable for you.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona, not Scottsdale, Arizona. They're close, but they're completely different worlds. And we have a special guest today. Definition of intelligence is if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And so this gentleman is very intelligent. I've done this show before also, but very seldom do you find somebody who lines up on all counts. And it's a Mr. Clay Clark. He's a friend of a good friend, Eric Trump. But we're also talking about money, bricks, and how screwed up the world can get in a few and a half hour. So Clay Clark is a very intelligent man, and there's so many ways we could take this thing. But I thought, since you and Eric are close, Trump, what were you saying about what Trump can't, what Donald, who's my age, and I can say or cannot say?
First of all, I have to honor you, sir. I want to show you what I did to one of your books here. There's a
All
guy
right.
by the name of Jeremy Thorne, who was my boss at the time. I was 19 years old, working at Faith Highway. I had a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And he said, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I said, no. And my father, may he rest in peace, he didn't know these financial principles. So I started reading all of your books and really devouring your books. And I went from being an employee to self-employed to the business owner to the investor. And I owe a lot of that to you. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you thank you so much for allowing me to achieve success. And then I'll tell you all about Eric Trump. But I just want to tell you thank you, sir, for changing my life.
But not only that, Clay, thank you, but you become an influencer. More than anything else, you've evolved into an influencer where your word has more and more power. So that's why I congratulate you on becoming. Because as you know, there's a lot of fake influencers out there too, or bad influencers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you and I agree so much, and thanks for reading my books.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thrill for me today. Not a thrill, but recognition is when people, young men especially, come up and say, I read your book, changed my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa.
Hey, I'm Ryan Wimpy. I'm originally from Tulsa, born and raised here. I went to a small private liberal arts college and got a degree in business. And I didn't learn anything like they're teaching here. I didn't learn linear workflows. I learned stuff that I am not using and I haven't been using for the last 9 years. So what they're teaching here is actually way better than what I got at business school. And I went what was actually ranked as a very good business school. The linear workflow for us and getting everything out on paper and documented is really important. Like we have workflows that are kind of all over the place, so having linear workflow and seeing that mapped out on multiple different boards is pretty awesome. That's really helpful for me. The atmosphere here is awesome. I definitely just stared at the walls, figuring out how to make my facility look like this place. This place rocks. It's invigorating. The walls are super, it's just very cool. The atmosphere is cool. The people are nice. It's a pretty cool place to be. Very good learning atmosphere. I literally want to model it and steal everything that's here at this facility and basically create it just on our business side.
Once I saw what they were doing, I knew I had to get here at the conference. This is probably the best conference or seminar I've ever been to in over 30 years in business.
You're not bored. You're awake, alive the whole time. It's not pushy. They don't try to sell you a bunch of things.
I was looking to learn how to just get control of my life, my schedule, and just get control of the business.
Planning your time, breaking it all down, making time for the F6 in your life, and just really implementing it and sticking with the program.
It's really lively. They're pretty friendly, helpful, very welcoming.
I attended a conference a couple months back, and it was really the best business conference I've ever attended.
At the workshop, I learned a lot about time management, really prioritizing what's the most important.
Biggest takeaways are, you want to take a step-by-step approach to your business. Whether it's marketing, what are those 3 marketing tools that you want to use, to human resources.
Some of the most successful people and successful businesses in this town, their owners were here today because they wanted to know more from Clay, and I found that to be kind of fascinating.
The most valuable thing that I've learned is diligence. That businesses don't change overnight. It takes time and effort, and you got to go through the ups and downs of getting it to where you want to go.
He actually gives you the roadmap out. I was stuck, didn't know what to do, and he gave me the roadmap out step by step.
We've set up systems in the business that make my life much easier, allow me some time freedom.
Here you can ask any question you want. They guarantee it'll be answered.
This conference motivates me and also give me a lot of knowledge and tools.
It's up to you to do it. Everybody can do these things. There's stuff that everybody knows, but if you don't do it, nobody else can do it for you.
I can see the marketing working, and it's just an approach that makes sense.
Probably the most notable thing is just the income increase that we've had.
Everyone's super fun, it's super motivating. I've been here before, but I'm back again because it motivates me.
Your competition's going to come eventually, or try to pick up these tactics. So you better, if you don't, somebody else will.
I'm Rachel with Tip Top Canine, and we just want to give a huge thank you to Clay and Vanessa Clark.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan with Tip Top Canine. Just want to say a big thank you to Thrive 15. Thank you to Make Your Life Epic. We love you guys, we appreciate you, and really just appreciate how far you've taken us.
This is our old house, right? This is where we used to live a few years ago. This is our old neighborhood. See? It's nice, right?
So this is my old van and our old school marketing, and this is our old team. And by team, I mean it's me and another guy.
This is our new house with our new neighborhood.
This is our new van with our new marketing, and this is our new team. We went from 4 to 14, and I took this beautiful photo. We worked with several different business coaches in the past, and they were all about helping Ryan sell better and just teaching sales, which is awesome, but Ryan is a really great salesman. So we didn't need that. We needed somebody to help us get everything that was in his head out into systems, into manuals and scripts, and actually build a team. So now that we have systems in place, we've gone from 1 to 10 locations in only a year.
In October 2016, we grossed 13 grand for the whole month. Right now it's 2018, the month of October. It's only the 22nd. We've already grossed a little over 50 grand for the whole month, and we still have time to go. We're just thankful for you, thankful for Thrive and your mentorship, and we're really thankful that You guys have helped us to grow a business that we run now instead of the business running us. Just thank you times 1,000.
So we really just want to thank you, Clay, and thank you, Vanessa, for everything you've done, everything you've helped us with. We love you guys.
If you decide to not attend the Thrive Time workshop, you're missing out on a great opportunity.
The atmosphere of Clay's office is very lively. You can feel the energy as soon as you walk through the door, and it really got me and my team very excited.
If you decide not to come, you're missing out on an opportunity to grow your business. Bottom line.
Love the environment. I love the way that Clay presents and teaches. It's a way that not only allows me to comprehend what's going on, but he explains it in a way to where it just makes sense.
The SEO optimization, branding, marketing. I've learned more in the last 2 days than I have the entire 4 years of college.
The most valuable thing that I've learned, marketing is key. Marketing is everything.
Making sure that you're branded accurately and clearly. How to grow a business using Google reviews, and then just how to optimize our name through our website also.
Helpful with a lot of marketing, search engine optimization, helping us really rank high in Google.
The biggest thing I needed to learn was how to build my foundation, how to systemize everything and optimize everything, build my SEO.
How to become more organized, more efficient.
How to make sure the business is really there to serve me as opposed to me constantly being there for the business.
New ways of advertising my business as well as recruiting new employees.
Group interviews, number one. Before we felt like we were held hostage by our employees. Group interviews has completely eliminated that because you're able to really find the people that would really be the best fit.
Hands-on how to hire people, how to deal with human resources, a lot about marketing, and overall just how to structure the business to how it works for me, and also then how that can translate into working better for my clients.
The most valuable thing I've learned here is time management.
I like the 1 hour of doing your business is real critical if I'm going to grow and change.
Clay really teaches you how to navigate through those things and not only find freedom, but find your purpose in your business and find the purposes for all those other people that directly affect your business as well.
Everybody.
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 Everyone needs to attend the conference because you get an opportunity to see that it's real.